problems. You can become arthritic. There's a few areas. Let's talk about arthritis. Let's talk about wear and tear. Let's talk about the different problems that people can have with their shoulder from the mechanism of the shoulder. Then we'll look at the problems of a shoulder from the structural integrity issues of the shoulder. So let's break it into two categories, right? Let's look at the three pieces of the shoulder themselves, and then the mechanisms that hold the shoulder together, so we can look at injury accordingly, right? Injury and malady. Now, as long as this ball is smooth, the shoulder is going to rotate in a standard elliptical orbit or standard orbit. Let's say we have a set or known orbit of the shoulder. If I were to distort the shape of this, the head of the humerus, then it would have, if I shaved this piece of this ball off and I wrote, it would have a sudden and abrupt break in movement. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So from here, boom, it would do that. How many people you see do that in class? We teach yoga class. How many times do we see this? I say raise your arms up in the air, and they do this. What do we ask people to do in yoga when they're in a mountain pose? Where should the arms be?
Behind the line of the ear.
Behind the line of the peripheral vision. What does that represent on the shoulders themselves, on the alignment of the, what muscle?
The plane of the brachial plexus area.
Yeah, the plane of the, from the brachial plexus to the plane of the trapezius. Very good. So there's a brachial plexus here. Go down. Why should I know that's okay? Look at the skeleton. What is the hemisphere of the humerus? What hemisphere of the humerus is that? Right? It's fine. That means that it's fine. Now we know that it doesn't keep rotating back. It does like this. Right?
Right.
That's how it works. So we know if we can go up to here, it's fine. Well, let's say it goes here and it suddenly does that. What does that tell me about the shape of this?
It's not completely round.
It's irregular.
We've lost that shape. And now that could be lost for a few reasons. We could lose the shape in relationship to, it's three pieces, to the joint and to the processes in relationship to. So it needs to, the processes are tracking it, is that right? Now, when we get an injury where, how many times you heard about people, their shoulder pops out, or their shoulder feels very empty and weak? They'll move it and it just, the arm goes dead. It loses its alignment. That's when it's lost its relationship to the process. When it just locks up, how many people heard of the shoulder locking and not able to move? Or it just locks and they have limited range and they do this with their arm. Mm-hmm. Never told people to straighten their arm and they can only do this? You've never seen that?
Yeah.
When you start teaching, you'll see that a lot. So now we have a different problem. Here's two different problems. One is where the shoulder goes, ah, the arm is just weak. And you'll also see it in the muscle tone and higher up in the bicep.
Is that when it's pinching the nerve?
Not quite. You get there. That's the next round. We're going to talk about structural issues. So you'll see a flaccidity of muscle here. So that means that within the range of the process, there's a deformation of the process holding, typically in the front. Typically, if the joint is bad in the back part of it, you need to wait until that deformation of the humeral head reaches that pocket. Then it comes in. It comes in and the shoulder goes like that. It does that. Ah! And you'll see this. Can I use your cell phone? If who hasn't seen that?
Yeah.
When the shoulders do this. Right? And the arms reach that way as opposed to that way. They can't really do that well. Okay? Mm-hmm. So think about this ball and how it moves, because we're going to work on all that. We're going to be taking shoulders and clearing them and all that kind of stuff. And right now I'm dealing with the first half of this equation, which is just the mechanics, the foundation itself, not the supporting structure, which is nerves, muscles, and so forth.
So the weakness of the muscle goes right back to that lack of proper shape in the humeral head, and that dropping out point is literally starts to teach the muscle that it doesn't work there.
That's right. But we also have other issues. We have tendons and we have ligaments that are being what? when this ball is, instead of going like this, it's trying to push out against this. It's trying to do this. What's happening to the ligament every time it does that?
Being strained.
Hyperextending the ligament. Ligaments do not heal or respond the same way as muscles or tendons. Ligaments, tendons, then muscles, right? So it's doing this all the time. So there typically is a weakness in the arm because of what? If the tendons and the ligaments have lost their contact point, so they can only stretch so much, what then is keeping the arm from falling off the body?
The muscles.
The muscle.
The muscles.
And the skin.
Right.
The muscle and the skin. Right? So if something is pushing this out of its orbit, typically it is because it's no longer round in shape. It has a jagged edge on it. That jagged edge can exist in a couple of places. There can be damage to the process. There also can be deformation of the fossa. Not fascia. Fossa. Okay? So if I take this, that's where it sits. That's where it sits, okay? Here it is. It sits here. What if I take one of my favorite ginger candies, put it in there, and try and rotate? Veronica, could you rotate that? Just move it around for me.
Clicking. Oh, wow.
Okay. Hold it. Now do it. What's the
Make it a little
difference?
smoother.
Yeah. Okay. So any debris, what kind of debris would be in the
Cartilage.
articulate? So now if we find debris in there, so we mentioned articulating surface. I like to say articulating surface because you have a lot of stuff going on. We speak about the joints. We speak about the cartilage. Not only that is part of articulation, but also the smoothness of the humeral head. As long as that head is smooth, right? The smoothness of the face of the joint that the articulating surface resides in. So if this is fractured, cracked, and develops osteophysis, it's no longer smooth. So the articulating surface may still be intact, but the floor that it is mounted on, or in this case the wall of it, the face, it has deformation in it. Everybody understand that? Okay?